Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this edition of Leak Project. I'm your host, Rex Bear, and we have guests Patrick and Brenda with us tonight. We are going to discuss the Webster Phenomena, and this is just absolutely incredible. This is actually pretty new to me, guys, because what we're going to get into is the possibility of there being an extraterrestrial presence, not only throughout history, throughout nature, time, and space, different levels and archetypes. This is just incredible. So appreciate you both joining us. How the heck are you?
Awesome. Thanks, Rex. I'm doing great. Thanks for having us on Leak Project.
Oh, absolutely. It's just a pleasure to have you both on the show. Brenda, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Rex. And yeah, thank you very much for having us on.
Oh, absolutely. I know that it's pretty early where you're at, so I appreciate you getting up a little bit earlier than you're used to and spending some time with us. I always like to sleep in the mornings too, so this is just great to have you both on. And if you could just describe a little bit to our audience, a little bit about yourselves, and then we'll jump into this phenomenon itself.
Sure. Brenda, you want to go first?
You go first.
I see how this interview is going to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, for everybody to get to know me, you'll really have to kind of look at all my stuff and my YouTube and all that. But in general, I am a master craftsman, a woodworker. I'm also a accomplished musician. I know how to do a million things in the world. When you get to be about 52 years old, you have a lot under your belt. So that's pretty much me. And I started researching this, the Webster Phenomena, and created it about 2 years ago. And then Brenda joined me you joined me about 2 years ago, didn't you, Brenda?
Yeah, it was in July, 2014, yeah.
Okay, and have you seen similar anomalies out there in Australia as well?
Yeah, I have. That's actually, I discovered Patrick through a web page. Someone posted something and I found him there. But my background is I'm a psychic medium, basically, and I just had it started out very strangely enough, just through synchronicities for me, and then everything led me up to stumbling or in synchronicity finding this page and stumbling on Patrick. And I found that what he was saying and what he was presenting was exactly what I was led to and researching at the time. And so that's how we came to meet. So it was all very interesting at the time.
Okay.
And it's interesting every day, actually.
Oh, yeah.
What we find.
Absolutely. Now, I know that in Utah, especially southern Utah, there's so many areas out there that are what one might call mystical or sacred, not only to the natives, but just some incredible energy out there. And I haven't had a chance to go to Australia, but I know that the Aborigines and many of the native cultures, just there's so much amazing opportunities in both locations. So, Patrick, let's jump into this. And how old were you when you first started seeing these types of anomalies? And describe to our audience better, if you would please, what the Webster Phenomena is, because this is your, pretty much genre, isn't it? You've really kind of
absolutely
coined this. Okay.
Absolutely. This is brand new. Lots of people are talking about clouds now. But it all started with the clouds. Now, I've been involved in mystical and world mysteries and all that stuff for my entire life. I think my first instance was just loving the Bigfoot mystery. And I think that's where a lot of people started. And, of course, Roswell. So between those two things, I was really caught up in really, just having that Jones to want to know the truth. So what the Webster Phenomena, I'll jump to this, what the Webster Phenomena is, and then kind of backtrack on how I found it. The Webster Phenomena is the realization of extraterrestrials in the atmosphere of Earth throughout all of nature, and that includes the entire universe. Now, these extraterrestrials have a certain look to them, which I'm sure we'll get into here in a little bit. They have a form, and when we started to put when Brenda came together with me, this thing really took off. Now, the way this started was about 2 years ago, and everybody's up in arms about chemtrails. And if if you don't know what chemtrails are, man, go outside at any given part of the day and look for the lines, the straight lines, and those are not contrails, those are chemtrails. Now, I'm not saying they're chemical based. I'm just saying that that's what they're called, is chemtrails. They're different than
Oh, they're legit, man. We actually had
Yeah.
a show on yesterday where we had some actual analytical data where somebody took his rainwater and you could see the exact report, the number, the date, everything, and they found barium, aluminum, strontium, all sorts of nasty stuff in there.
Right, and that stuff you'll find anyway in the air because of all of the airplane exhaust and whatnot. You're going to find a lot of that in the air no matter what because of all the exhaust that humans tend to let out of their backside. So, but I do agree that there are these items are being sprayed in the sky. Now, why that's happening, I'm completely against everybody that's coming out saying that that they're trying to kill us and they're trying to depopulate Earth and they're trying to do this and that, whoever they are. That I believe that's completely bogus. That's not happening. That there's a whole nother reason for these trails, and it's way above humans. See, humans tend to think that everything that happens on Earth is about them, and I'm disagreeing on this one. That whoever's doing this, whoever they is on this one, is not doing this to hurt humanity. In fact, I believe they're probably trying to save humanity. Such a huge effort would merit such things as to save humanity, not to, hey, let's do this. Let's just kill everybody blatantly in their face. Oh, yeah, let's do that. I'm sorry, I just don't buy that. There's a lot of hype. So anyway, back to the chemtrails. About 3 years ago, I decided that I was one of those people that didn't like chemtrails. So because it was screwing up my Southern California sky where I lived at that time. And, from making the whole sky cloudy to just having skid marks across the sky all day. And so I started looking into these chemtrails, and I didn't do tests on them because, you can't actually test the chemtrail. You're just testing air where everything else is. So I started to look into these chemtrails, take pictures, close up, far away, filtered, what have you. And finally I realized I knew I was seeing something in the sky, that I was seeing something behind a mask, and it was just a mask of mist. And sure enough, after enough pictures and enough collaboration between my colleagues, that sure enough we were seeing beings which are not human, and come to find out that with further research, we found that these beings match ancient gods. So many of the all the ancient stuff from Egypt, pre-Egypt, Sumerian, we've matched up in the sky, all kinds of that stuff, all kinds of these beings, and we sure haven't done anything like mirrored the image, added anything, subtracted anything. The only thing I do to these images is mess with the brightness just a little bit, the brightness and the saturation of the color. So I'm just playing with the light, so to speak. So basically, Rex, that's. Did I leave anything out, Bren?
No, not that I can.
We do by the way, we do a podcast every week, and we've taken the last couple weeks off. So I think we're a little rusty, Brenda.
Yeah.
What is your podcast? If somebody wanted to have access to that,
you can go to the websterphenomena.com. Right now, we are doing maintenance on that page, so you can't get there. So what you'll want to do is go to Blog Talk Radio /the Webster Phenomena, blogtalkradio.com /the Webster Phenomena, and you can find our archives of about 50 some shows. And inside of those shows, we explain everything that we can possibly get into the English language about these beings. And we have our listener base has grown immensely over the last year.
Well, I'm thinking of an experience a friend of mine had that took salvia divorium. I think it's what it's called. You can actually buy the stuff, but it's just extremely intense. And he said when he did it for a spiritual journey, and he thought he was going to go out of body, but he actually went more internal, and he felt like he was as he described it, alien food, because he felt like he was a part of one giant archetype, and then he noticed a whole bunch of other people that were all connected to it, and he was only able to move when he was allowed to, and he felt like he was going to be stuck there for all eternity, and it just made him realize how small he was in the whole scheme of this cosmic soup. Now, obviously that's drug-induced, and there's, just who knows what kind of chemicals that really does cause your brain to create when that happens, but it really had a huge impact on this person. And you can go back and look at a lot of photos and images that do seem to have a very similar connection to some of the ancient archetypes, deities, and god forms, and it's quite incredible. But so how do you just get around the fact that clouds do change shapes and forms all the time, and there's going to be so many skeptics out there who are going to say, well, you can come up with anything you want when you look at the clouds sometimes?
Well, Brenda, I was going to give you this one, but I think I'll take this one. Let's see. I've been doing this. Okay, let's start off with the word pareidolia. Pareidolia means that you see faces in things like clouds. Now, there's a lot of people, most people on Earth, live by what the word says. They live by the word. So if somebody made up a word and have a definition for it, then God forbid, that must be it. That must be the end all be all. And that's not so. That is not so. That word has been placed into effect to push people's focus away from this fact. Also, let's go to the word delusional. Now, there's something called a grandiose delusion. And oddly enough, the WebMD definition for this, for delusion, the grandiose delusion, is somebody that has made a huge discovery that nobody else can see. And I've been called delusional many times. Now, the thing about this delusion that I'm having is that other people see it. Brenda's not the only one. We have thousands of people that corroborate what I'm saying and what I'm showing on my Facebook and etc. So, and also I just want to add that to see this, to see anything spiritual, you do not need drugs. You do not need drugs. It may help you crack your shell. That may be so. Believe me, I've read all of the Carlos Castaneda books, and Mescalito and all those characters. They helped me understand that there are other worlds available to humans, and we tend to just stay strict in this world. Well, other worlds are now leaking into this world, or orbiting back into this world, however that orbit may be. And one of the beings that are one of the groups of beings that's coming back around are these ancients who came, I think, last as Egyptian gods, Thoth and Anubis and Horus. I have extensive proof. In fact, my photographic proof would be admissible in a court of law, and I could win is there extraterrestrials or not? I could win the case just off of my pictures. That I guarantee you that I could talk a jury into saying yes, there are extraterrestrials based on his pictures. So let's see. Did I get off course there on that question, or
no? That's great. And do we have do we have some of those pictures that you're sharing with us now that I'm going to be flipping through? Would you say some of those are what you're referring to?
Yeah, the ones you're showing right now are my last freshest ones. Like this one you're showing right now is definitely a bull or some kind of a animal that has horns. There's other pictures that show ET heads, and they're huge and they're tiny, and they're behind the mask, and you can see the ones that are back in the very faint looking mist. If you take the time, people, if you take the time on a nice partly cloudy day, you'll see how weird the sky is if you're not clued into this. Really, if you're not clued into this, clue into it. You're going to see how freaking weird it is. And you're going to see weird mist. You're going to see weird colors. Watch when the clouds, like this picture right here, when you see clouds go in front of the sun, look at it through your phone. You can see beings that are standing all over the tops of these clouds. Now, you know that Revelation says, I'm going to go to the Bible, I'm not a religious person, but I do study these texts. And Revelation does talk about how there will be a coming of beings, and they will come in clouds. So this is one of the matches that we've made that keeps this thing cohesive, that there are prophecy, thousands of years old prophecy, that mention that clouds will be part of the coming of whatever it is. I'm not saying it's Jesus or whatever, it's just going to be a showing of some otherworldly stuff. And that's definitely happening. It's just people aren't cluing into it yet.
I like how you brought up the creatures coming from the clouds or beings, angels, etc. Now, what would you describe this being right here?
That right there, that is you can see the big head. You can see the big head. Looks like he's got a little something coming out of his mouth. That's what they do. Now, what you're circling right there is the smaller head on top of the big head. And this is how these guys work. They ride on top of each other. They use very fancy and exotic flying machines. I have many pictures of those in my books. And the pictures that I have in my books are my best pictures, and I have never posted those. So that's pretty important to grab the books, and I also explain the being. So you know what you're looking at. You're not looking at a human being. You're looking at a cross between what we know as animals.
So what are the name of your books?
It's the Webster Phenomena, and I have it's the Reveal part 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have 4 books out now.
Okay.
And I think you can pick them up on Amazon for like $4.99 or something like that. And it's well worth it to learn about these this new thing that's happening. And soon everybody's gonna. This is coming on, Rex. This is actually happening. It is a realization, but the reason I realize it is because I followed the trail. Now, when you follow a trail, you find something. And lo and behold, I did. I followed the trail. It was the chemtrail. And I found these beings. I've actually changed the word chem when I talk about chemtrails to start with a K and stand for the Egyptian, the Chem, the land of the, what am I thinking of, Brenda?
The god Chem.
Yes, Chem.
The creator of life, yes.
That's the attachment to Egypt, and it just so happens that we happen to call these chemtrails. Well, they are chemtrails. They're from the chem. They're just not chemical trails. It'll be found out that these airplanes don't have anything to do with humans, and it's just there's going to be a whole bunch of things that are found out that everybody is up in arms about right now, and really the only way people can get this out is to be upset about it and be mad about it and blame somebody. And everybody's blaming government. Well, government is guilty of one thing, not telling you. That's the only thing they're guilty of, is not telling you.
Okay, so you think that these chemtrails that they're spraying is actually more for to make it a habitable environment for these extraterrestrial type entities?
Nothing to do with humans, Rex. Nothing to do with humans. Humans need to get over it and realize that it's not about them. Nobody cares. They're not trying to kill you. You pay taxes. You pay their way so they can have the good life. And they're not going to get rid of their servants, and they're just not going to get rid of people. So logically, to look at it, yes, I do believe. I want to say no, but I don't know 100%. Although deduction leads me to that. That's really a pixelated picture. It's too bad that one. But people can go on my website and see that's a big ET face. So yes, I do believe that these chemtrails are for extraterrestrials. They have everything to do with extraterrestrials. They have nothing to do with humans. Sorry, guys who are testing the stuff. That's great, you're testing it. But open your mind to the Webster phenomenon. Realize what you're testing is some kind of soup that is for extraterrestrial breeding.
Well, and this might be, if you go to some of the ancient texts, let's get into the archons and the influence that they had in the Gnostic texts especially. Very powerful creatures that came from a different dimension that influenced people behind the scenes. And you've got HARP, CERN-type technologies now. I know that HARP uses some type of frequency-based, high-intensity rays essentially that interact with these particulates that are in the skies. And I've seen some of the declassified white papers that talk about different applications of chemtrails. I mean, there's all sorts of different reasons and different mixtures that they come up with. But maybe the overall reason, as you're saying, could have to do more with this allowing these ETs to interconnect. And it makes me think of that Superman movie that most recently came out, not the Superman versus Batman, but the one before that, where these godlike beings come down to Earth and they want to mess with the atmosphere and make it more habitable for them. And I'm wondering if this is kind of like that was a subliminal message to the masses is what might be going on possibly.
Brenda, you want to take that?
Well, personally, I think it's a multi-layered question here.
Yeah.
I don't believe that HARP has really got anything to do with this, so that I leave to one side. There's a lot of people believe HARP is, messing with people's minds and changing many things, but the only thing I can say is with the chemtrails, as Patrick said, is that I feel that they are, yes, making it more habitable, and they're actually allowing these beings to bring themselves into our atmosphere because they are etheric beings, they are light beings. They need a way to show themselves in this atmosphere, and this chemtrail formula that's being used is something that allows them to take form in our atmosphere. And it's their way of, I suppose it's soft, what would you call soft disclosure for them without wanting to necessarily scare the bejesus out of everybody straight up. So this is it's allowing them to push into it. Like you can see this picture that you're looking at now. That's a being pushing into our atmosphere from their dimension.
Yeah.
And with the atmosphere and the way that, with the chems in the formula that they're using in the clouds is allowing this to become visible to us. Otherwise, they would be invisible.
Now,
and those of us that...
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brenda.
No, I was just going to say, and as you open your mind up and you look and you allow yourself to understand these things, it becomes more obvious. Every time you do it and every time you see it, it becomes more obvious.
Yeah. Now, in that last picture that you were showing, Rex, you can see a sickle up on the top. And if you look at this picture in a better quality, you can see that and if you actually zoom out so you can get the whole thing, up on the top there is a being that's holding that sickle. I had Brenda research this picture, and she found ridiculous stuff in this picture. The more I filter it in different filters, I've created some filters that really pop these beings out and take away that misty mask that's always there. You can see about halfway down, you can see an angel, and then you can see another being that's standing there. Honestly, he kind of looks like he's taking a piss or something. I'm not going to say that's what he's doing, but I'm just, as humans, that's kind of what it looks like. But this is not like we didn't just stumble on a picture and go, oh, look, that looks like this and like that. No, we've studied hundreds of thousands of pictures of clouds and studied the live clouds and studied video and time lapse. And I do want to get to your question before about how fast moving the clouds are and how it's hard to actually catch these guys. But I want to talk about this chemtrail mixture. We've done, you mentioned barium and strontium and aluminum. Well, if you do some further research on this, and if these guys would do more than just see if this is poison, which it may be for humans. Like I said, they don't care. It's not about humans. This is not about humans. This is about these ETs that are in the clouds. Now, I agree with Brenda about HARP that it didn't commence as a mind control device. That it was more interested in maneuvering the weather because we have a melting glacier problem and it releases methane, yada yada, Al Gore, yada yada yada. But it's real. That's all real stuff, man. And if you do some research on global warming and why they call it global warming and the methane that's entering the atmosphere is the killer. The methane is the killer. So and what it's going to do to the jet streams and the all of the currents above and below. But when you take these items, strontium, barium, I believe it's barium salt, and aluminum, when you take this mixture and you add electromagnetic energy to it, you get plasma. You get plasma. So as etheric beings in the paranormal have been known to be electromagnetic energy, when you put these beings' presence together with this substance, it creates them. It gives them a way in to 3D. So if you watch a chemtrail, and don't hate on it, just watch it expand, and watch how the top of it, and sometimes the bottom too, but usually the top of it, you'll see a ton of heads popping up. Now, people may think, well, that's the way clouds look. Well, that's the way heads look, people. You have to realize these beings are growing in these chemtrails. They're coming to life. They're being born, so to speak, but not as babies. It's more like a portal, more like a wormhole. We had a good discussion about wormholes yesterday, me and Brenda did.
Now, do you think that CERN uses that technology, wormhole technology?
CERN, I don't, honestly, I'm not going to profess to be any kind of an expert on CERN. I did follow the first collider when it first started up. This was years and years and years ago, when they realized that they could time travel by using these colliders, that they could send something through time warp. That hasn't really been expanded on in public since. But this whole CERN thing, it's a bit concerning. I did that, and I just honestly, I'm not part of CERN. I'm sure it has everything to do with this and what's happening, and that it's part of it. It's completely part of it. But my knowledge of it, I'll just leave the CERN stuff to somebody else. Really, what do you know about CERN? Bren knows some stuff about CERN.
Well, I know they've had a lot of trouble with it, and I just believe that there's reasons for that. So I don't. I mean, they've had a lot of trouble with startups and breakdowns and burnouts and all sorts of things, chewing through wires and God knows what. So, as we say, if they are playing with things in there that they should not be playing with, the powers that be are seeing to slow them down quite considerably, because something always goes wrong. So, I don't believe in this lifetime they're going to achieve, like everybody's saying, oh, they're opening portals to other dimensions and stuff. I really don't see them being able to achieve that currently. I just don't see it happening. It's fraught with too much, just too much going on, and their knowledge of it's not enough for them to continue putting it together the way they're trying to do. It's just not going to work out.
Okay. Yeah, I know there's been all sorts of issues that CERN has had, and it's interesting to think about. This picture we're looking at right here, this kind of looks like a face almost. It
is a face. You can see the eyes. You can see the mouth. When you start to look at the mouth, you can see where there's teeth. The interesting thing about these beings is that they are the definition of the one and the many, the all and the one. So saying that these beings are made up of beings. And this fact has led us to research our own bodies, our own selves, and everything else, including plants and flowers and, basically anything, water, mountains. I go on Google Maps and I can show you stuff that's just ridiculous. And it all falls into the same form, the same formula. Number one, these beings are they're animal-based beings. Number two, many of them make up one. So they're the masters of disguise. 10 of them can group together and go, hey, let's make up this face. And they do it. They get together and they make up the face. And as you look at it, you can start to particulate the separate beings that came together to make that one face. Now, this a doctor, a psychiatrist would say, "Oh man, that's pareidolia. We need to make a new delusion
Times
called
10,
paradelusional." And that's all great. Go for it. Make that up. Go ahead, Brenda.
Sorry, I was just going to say this picture that we're showing at the moment is actually exactly what we're talking about, because where we say, oh, this is a face in one area, just look slightly below it, you will see another. To the left, you will see another, and around that, you will see another to make up another. So it, as you said, it's the one and the all. They make multiples. They make one.
Absolutely.
And that's how it forms. So you don't just see the one; you will see the many.
Yep.
Okay. Now let's go to I guess we can go to the next one here as well. That's a pretty cool one, by the way. It looks like there's a bat flying over his head too, doesn't it? The trident dragon.
Oh, I'm not getting that. I'm not getting anything on my page here, but let's see. So you're looking at the
right above the head. See that? I mean, I was just kind of joking around, but it looks pretty cool. We'll go to this next one here. Did you change the light up on this one?
Honestly, Rex, I can't see what you're looking at right now. It's not coming through on my screen for whatever reason.
Screen.
Okay,
Yeah.
Must have. Here. Is that pulling up? It's not. Is
nothing.
No.
You know, I've been having weird issues ever since I did a podcast with Mike Norris a couple days ago, the son of Chuck Norris, on a video.
See?
I'm telling you, man, we got disconnected. We got disconnected during the interview. He called me on a landline. He came out with a new film called Amerigeddon, and it's kind of the powers that be don't really like this film because it's exposing some things that they don't want coming out in the mainstream. But regardless, ever since that conversation and we got disconnected, I've been having some weird issues. So let's try this again here. I'll pull this back up.
Right when you said you got disconnected, I got disconnected.
Here we
Weird,
go.
It's something they don't want you to know.
No, seriously. I mean, from the start today. Okay, yeah. This one has this has a dragon. You can see this is an opening in the clouds that's at the sun. Now, there's you can't see this stuff when you're looking up because obviously you can't look at the sun. You can't even see it with shades on. You have to take pictures of this, and you have to touch your finger to where the sun is at in the picture. So your phone, I'm talking iPhone, will dull it down a little bit. It'll take a little bit of the light away, and then you can start to see these beings that are in these holes that you normally wouldn't see, that most people or all other people don't see. So this is a lot of what I catch. You can see the faint being that's in the middle. You can see his eyes. He has a very dragon-looking face. He has a long bill. One eye is big. The other one is kind of shaded, and that's how they work. He's got his hand off to the side to our left or his right. And the hand kind of looks like a puppet, like what we would think of as a puppet on your hand. These are not puppets. These are their hands. This is what they look like. Right above this being, you'll see another scenario where it's very intricate. You'll see an arm coming out with the same reptilian type of face, and I'm just going to say reptile. I don't like to say reptilian because it connects me with David Icke. I'm not connected with David Icke. I do not believe all of that stuff, and that that reptiles are here to screw us up and have forever. I believe that I believe they're part of us. They're part of our whole role. See, humans tend to just think that we're separate from everything, and we're not. We are part of this whole entire scenario, clearly, because we haven't been wiped out for 4,000, however many years. Supposedly it's less than 4,000 years that the flood happened. But so in this picture, you can see that there's a floating anomaly, which has that little kind of tail at the end, that ghosty, wispy tail. And then above it, you can see a much more solid being that many will say that, oh, well, that's just a crack in the cloud. Well, the thing is that the sun's behind that. And what we understand is the cracks in the clouds and showing the blue behind it. That isn't totally accurate. We have a ton of research to still do. We're in the midst of this research, and I can imagine that humans will be in the midst of this research for 100 years, figuring this stuff out. But this is a good picture too that shows, number one, the amount of color that's going on around the sun when clouds come near it. Many people will attribute that to chemtrails and the oily sky. So, but you can see that there's a being. He's pink. He's got some kind of a trunk or arm that he's holding up, or he's holding some curved object up. Now, we have tons and tons of these objects, and we're finding more and more as time goes on. They're becoming very loose with letting us see these objects. We've seen staffs. We've seen staffs that match Egyptian staffs. We've seen the was many times. We've seen crowns. What else have we seen, Bren?
Oh heck, we've seen a lot of things. We've actually seen the different rods with the just with the different heads of the beings as well too. So
Right.
they've been presented as rods.
Yes, the canopic jar.
Yeah.
We've seen the canopic jar beings. We would love to. I'm going to put this out here right now. We would love to speak with ancient research, like, I guess I'm going to say real ancient researchers, although that kind of puts us into the non-real section. We can really help you. We can really, really help you if you would open your ears to us and open your arms to our information. We could advance this civilization so much. Now, this is a great picture. This may be one of my best pictures. You can see the being has a sense of humor as he's using the chemtrail as a fake mustache. You can even see where his nose is, and it's curved out where he's breathing onto that chemtrail. And then the rainbow, you can see his eyes just above the trail, and his mouth just below it. And then you can
see the whole jawline.
Yes, and then you can see his arm on the left coming down, and then his elbow crossing over towards that rainbow spot. And at the rainbow spot, you can see that it looks like an alligator sitting above the water with his eyes above the water. And you can see the snout in the yellow part. He's got 2 holes, and that is the dragon hand of the being, or the serpent hand. Now, here's how I realized this. It's real simple. I've always been fond of the figurine that's over 4,000 years old of Anu. This is a Sumerian figurine of Anu. It's a reptilian figure, and he's got his hand crossed, holding his other hand, and the hand that he's holding, it shows his hand as a serpent. And so I believe that this is that being. That's what was depicted in that figurine, and I've got that somewhere in my pictures.
Yeah, that's a cool picture right there, Patrick.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've got quite a few of those. Now, right here, Rex, you can see that the chemtrail has passengers. Now, if those aren't passengers, I want to know what the heck they are. We've studied this picture close, far away, upside down, sideways, and you can actually see button-up shirts. I mean, these are beings. They're not all human. Many of them are animal, but some have a human look and a form to them, and they're wearing clothes, and it's
looks like the Wish Dragon.
The Wish Dragon
from Never-Ending Story.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It does, right? I mean, seriously, look at that.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what the chemtrails are. You'll just watch them. They turn into serpents. Every single one of them. Which brings us to think about wormholes, and that these serpents may actually be wormholes. And that's what we were talking about last night. And we're in the middle of that research right now. Brenda's like, don't.
I just want to go back to what Rex was saying earlier about how people are saying, how do you catch these things because the clouds change form so rapidly and so quickly. And that's why we have, camera phones, people, because yes, they will give you a glimpse of themselves for, depending how quickly the wind is coming, it'll be for a second, or it could be for 10 or for 15. I mean, I've actually seen something out the window, gone to snap it on my camera, and if I get distracted for 2 seconds, literally the whole thing is gone.
Yeah,
so
or changed
it's something.
up.
Yeah, exactly. So you really, snap it immediately, and that's how you get to see them, because you've captured them at that second in time. They're frozen in time then, whereas if you're just standing there letting them go past, yes, you'll see them for a split second, but then they'll just keep changing into something else. But if you photograph it, you will catch them in all their stages. And if you do multiple snaps across, giving a second or 2 apart, you will actually catch them transforming themselves from one to another.
Absolutely.
And this is where it gets very interesting.
This is fascinating. You've got some great shots here, and I wonder this goes on at night too, and obviously you can't see as much cool stuff, but what I have noticed with some footage that is pretty tough to find is I've seen some guys with really high-tech night vision stuff where they can record the skies at nighttime, and you see these just crazy-looking Star Trek type outlines that are flying through the skies, and then you'll see what looks like this
Yes.
laser battle almost, and it dissipates. And I'm wondering, how much of that is legit, how much is fake, and if that is really going out there, maybe it's a different dimension. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Any connections?
I have a picture of that I took last night, and you should be able to find that. It should be the very top picture on my page. That was a night shot. Yep, it's that one. Now you can see that this being the clouds were different colors, and that they're not actual clouds. It's very mechanical looking, and the face that is looking towards the moon has the mouth, the nose, the eyes, as you were just encircling, some kind of a hairdo. Not quite sure if that's they look very claymation. That's what I've attached them to, is they have a very claymation look, and a very cartoony look, which will also push away human eyes or human focus, or just the need to know about it until it's relevant in people's lives. It's too cartoony for our hard-faced world. This illusion that man has created, the work, everybody be serious type of living. These beings operate much differently, but you can see that it's mechanical. There's tons of mechanical stuff going on. So we're not just dealing with actual extraterrestrials. We're dealing with mechanical beings as well. I've seen this many times, and more recently than ever. So we're doing our research on the mechanical beings and how that can possibly be. But when they do come into the etheric, they're beginning to look very particular. So look at your particular clouds. Just a little story. One of my coworkers today, he's a devout Mormon, has been his whole life, family, kids, all that. And Mormons are waiting for the apocalypse. They're ready for it, but they don't know how it's going to come. And so I showed this guy a couple months ago this whole entire Webster phenomenon, turned him onto it. Well, this morning he showed me a picture that him and his wife took last night of the sunset, and he said, "Look, it's a steamboat." And sure enough, it was a steamboat sitting right in front of the sun as a cloud. Now, the reason that I don't laugh that off is because the Egyptians have so far been spot on about everything that we research, and we bounce back and forth of affirming what they're showing, and then from that affirmation we can turn around and research further, because we're like, oh, that's this picture right here is great. I want to talk about this. If you can leave that there for a second, Rex. But it's very important to realize that this has everything to do with what the Egyptians left us. Everything to do with it. This picture right here, you can see that there's a being. He's got a pretty big head. You can see a couple teeth in front, like he's a little buck-toothed. You can see the eyes. Now you can tell that. Just lost that. I just lost that.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah. In fact,
Let me
I'm not.
pull it up again. I don't know
there
why
we
I
go.
did that, but that's odd. Once
Yeah,
again,
it
we
just
got
disappeared, of
boot
course, because we
again.
were talking about it.
Yeah. Nanny. All right,
There's definitely gremlins in this
some
going
nano
on in
gremlins. Yeah, they're.
this show.
How's that? Is it back up?
Yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
So you can see the eyes above the buck tooth. Yeah, exactly. And you can see that they're inside of behind a mask, and that there's probably a different face behind there than the one you're seeing, but you are seeing hair, possibly a little cross that's next to his left eye on our right side of his head, a little cross. Actually, it's kind of big. And you can see that there's a chemtrail that's been shot, and it's going up and down, and that he's actually holding on to it with his hand. Now, we've seen this a million times, that when a chemtrail is shot, that they grab it. In fact,
Chemtrail skydivers.
yeah, these guys they'll fight for it. They'll fight for the we've seen them bite the chemtrails. So, like I said, it's like a ET soup. It's like mana for them, and they definitely they do everything with it. They become it. They eat it. It's pretty nuts. So, yeah, that's an awesome picture right there.
That's a great one. Now, let me see here. I'm going to go to the next one. This looks pretty neat. Like a good outline there.
Good outline of a being. Now, this one's great because we can go back to the Sumerian days where they show on a lot of the depictions from the Sumerian days, which are over 4,000 years old, you see clamper-handed beings without fingers but have a clamper, more like a crab or a what's the being that has? Is that a salamander or gecko?
No, the chameleon.
Chameleon, that's it. Thank you. And go figure, it's the chameleon, the one that blends into the background. But look at his hands right here. You can see, and he's kind of shrugging off to me. I'm in my backyard just looking up and checking him out. He's kind of looking at me like, hey, we tried. You know, what can we do? So he's giving me the good old shrug.
It's Gumby.
that is I haven't thought about that. But you can see that he's actually sitting on something because it's very square right where his butt would be. So they've either got square butts or they're sitting. And once again, refer back to Egypt where you can see that they loved the boxes. They loved to sit on boxes. They loved to they loved the boats. And that's what I was going to get at with the Egyptian boats. The boats to the afterlife. Anybody who's interested in this should really look up the boats to the afterlife and then start looking at the clouds and taking pictures, especially at sunset.
Now, this one looks like a heart. Am I correct on that?
That is. I took that on Mother's Day, and my mom had passed away, so I thought that was pretty cool. And there's a couple little guys sitting down there to the left. A couple of them have popped up. One of them has the kind of dolphin-y type of face, the bigger one, and then there's a smaller one that kind of looks like a rabbit, or he's coming through as a rabbit, but that's not what he is. You can see his eyes on his ears.
Well, that's a neat omen nonetheless, right? I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, that was great.
It could have been your mom saying hello, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's
and then,
really cool.
Yeah, and then I think a hummingbird. Her and I, before she passed over, spoke about how she was going to come through to me. And a hummingbird was one of them. And I believe just before that shot, I got swooped by a hummingbird like 3 times. I thought he was going to dart me.
Wow.
But yeah.
That's neat. That is really neat. Now, this one right here that we're looking at is this is quite the anomaly.
Yeah, that one was just really colorful. And, it's once again, you can see the many and the one in that being. And I'm sure, Rex, as you're becoming familiar with this, you're starting to see that it's what the being generally looks like. It's definitely not human. It's more of a. How would you describe it, Brenda? How would you describe the main being?
Well, it's very. You say reptile-like, but it's sort of got a froggy look most of the time. Sometimes we'll see them as very Kermit-like.
Oh, absolutely.
For want of better words, but
yes,
yeah, they have that. It is a reptilian look, so it'll morph between being sort of frog or lizard-like through to more alligator type look. So it morphs between those things.
Yep.
And that's the very basis of it. And then you will get the others that pop in. So that's why it gets really interesting. And one thing I was just going to say that, people say, oh, well, it could be anything, anytime. But the thing that we've noticed in our research and over the couple of years that we've been together doing this, and obviously Patrick even before that, it becomes very interesting when you've taken all these pictures and you look at your pictures, and every time you look at them, you actually see more within your pictures because your eyes become more used to looking and seeing. But you will actually get creatures or beings that reappear. So you will see a familiar face amongst the entities. You will see them coming back to see you again. So you can actually say, oh, I've got one that I call Henry. So Henry comes back and he's exactly the same form that he was last time he came, which could have been 3 months before. And it's quite amusing, actually, when you see them come back because your logical mind's saying it's not possible. However, your spiritual mind and your knowing mind says, yes, it is.
Yep.
These are some neat photos. What would you classify this one as?
That's a great question for me to explain this being. You can see the large head. You can see the whole entire picture is a head. He's kind of got pointy ears that are going off to the side. He's got beings that are standing up on top of his head, of the head. Now, this is why this is so hard to explain, because it is so detailed and so unheard of that it used to be every word that came out of my mouth, I was looking at myself like I just said that. I'm over that now. I'm way beyond that. I really don't care if people believe me, pick it up or not. I honestly, Rex, do not care anymore. This is a personal discovery that I'm sharing with humanity, is the way I look at this. Now, if you look into the eye socket, you can see that there's a being that's trying to make an eyeball, trying to make it look like there's an eyeball in there, and he's doing a pretty darn good job, but it's pretty small. Look down at the mouth, how there's beings that are attempting to make teeth, and they're actually making it kind of look like they're braces. So that's what this being, and we call these large clouds that inhabit a lot of beings, we call them bioships. Reason being is because they're living beings that are ships. They're bioships. So they're alive. They're morphing constantly. And at any given point, you can see the beings on top. And this one, you can see, I don't know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that. Now, there's a green being right on the very top. And you can see that he's got his face, and he looks rather jolly. He's looking off to our right. And you can also see that there's some kind of, I'm going to say, hieroglyphic that's on his head. This is pretty common. We're researching this deeply, and we don't want to, there's not much to say about it because it's just strictly research. But there's tons of hieroglyphics in the sky. Many of the forms match up with ancient Atlantean writing, like you would find on the Emerald Tablet, which we've been studying lately. What other signs are we seeing up there, Bren?
Oh, we've had, you saw the sickle earlier. We've had the crosses.
It's like a big giant hand, like someone's put their fist up and there's something going right through their fingers.
Yeah,
hanging onto the trail.
That's a good, that's good eyes, man. That's good eyes.
Yep. He's grabbing at that trail.
That's pretty cool. This taken in southern Utah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, most of these were taken in southern Utah. My older stuff was taken in Southern California.
Okay.
Let's see. Most of it is in southern Utah. This one right here that you've got up, you can see that there's a being that's right over the sun. And you can see his face, and like Brenda said, he looks rather froggy. And then to our right and his left hand, you can see he's holding his left hand up, and it is a serpent that you can see his eyes, and he's got his, looks to be, he's got his tongue out. That's what serpents do. So, like I said, please, everybody, take pictures and look at them. I'm also going to be soon doing some videos that are explaining each picture, and I'm even considering doing some Google Hangouts with people that are very interested in learning about what they're seeing and just aren't grasping it. Now, this picture right here, I got this a couple weeks ago. Notice all the lines. Now, when these lines first started to come out and show in the sky, people were saying that this was HARP. This was the sign of HARP because it was in waves. Now you can see that this is not HARP. This is more depicting the Nemes. Now, the Nemes is the headdress that the Egyptians wore, the striped headdress. The reason the Egyptians wore this headdress and wore the beard and wore the uraeus, which is the serpent coming off of their forehead, the reason that they did this, the reason that they painted their eyes black with the line on the sides, is to look like these beings. They were aware that these beings were the conduit, the connection to the afterlife, the underworld, heaven, hell, whatever you want to call it. The other place where we go. And pharaohs were well aware, however they knew it, however they figured it out. We think it was because these beings had come in to reality as they're doing now. So you can see that this is the beginning of what happened in Egypt to create what we see now from ancient Egypt. We're going to relive that right now, and this right here in the sky you can see is the commencement. Should be fun, guys.
Now, this picture we're looking at here, this is...
Yeah.
How would you connect the dots with this one?
Well, you've got... there's so much to talk about here with this. For starters, just the hieroglyphics. You can find each and every one of these in the sky. The nut is the woman that is perched over, and nut contains all the stars, and so they're telling you that a one being contains all the stars and the planets in the universe and oversees everything. Now, just below nut, you can see that there's a boat, and this boat with those in-turned ends. I've got tons of pictures of that boat right there, the afterlife boat. And we lost it, but those pictures that were from, let's see if are you gonna get that back up there, Rex, or?
I just attempted to pull it back up, so
Okay.
yeah, let's try this one more time here.
All right.
No. Did it go?
Nope.
It's not going
Not yet. Not
Interesting.
yet.
Well, it's showing
Nope.
that I'm not even connected on Skype here, which is odd because I am, and I'm talking to you guys still. So that's
Oh yeah, still hear you.
yeah, very
Still hear you.
It's all a big conspiracy, folks. I don't know what's going on.
It is, man. I'm telling you.
The concentrated swamp gas in San Antonio is making all sorts of strange things happen.
That's gotta be it.
I can't explain
That's
it.
gotta be it. You throw some of that harp in there, man. Oh, it's like angels singing.
It is, man. Just mix it up together, and you've just got yourselves an awesome opportunity here. All right, let's. No, it's still not. It's not. This is so.
It's not
strange.
appearing.
Oh man.
Well, let me just explain while you're doing that.
Sure.
People will get it. That when you see these Egyptian art, you see that there are sections to this artwork. They always section it off, and they put a line under, and they put a line over. Now, this line that's under normally has stripes in it. What I have deducted is that this nice, thick, striped line that everybody thinks is just some ornamental thing in this artwork is the chemtrails. It stands for.
And you're still with us, right, Brenda?
I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm here now.
All right.
And
Good.
there we are.
Perfect.
There we go.
Okay. Let me.
Man, I started walking down this tunnel, and then there was this light, and oh man, it was
You just
nutty.
got pulled back.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like, wait, don't go to the light. Don't go to the light. That's right.
Come back here. You've got
Not
something
yet.
to explain.
And then I can go. Okay.
You know, it's funny you brought up the light because I was having a conversation with somebody that's really has a lot of knowledge in the NDEs and near-death experiences, and then they were talking about, coming to the light and how it's like a moth. When a moth goes to the light, it's drawn to it. And the way I'm like, well, that's not really a good analogy to describe going to the light, like being the moth that, goes to that zapper now, is it? Well, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, that's funny because back when I was first learning all this stuff and learning how to read auras and doing all that, this was, I don't know, 20 some years ago, they told me that to be careful of people in this genre because moths flock to the light. So that basically because you're becoming a lighted being or an illuminated being, that it's not going to attract all kinds of great. On the contrary, it's going to attract the moths and the people that need the light and the people that need you. So pretty important.
That's a powerful statement indeed. So it's always good to have some type of, you just got to hit that reset button and get rid of all that, all that negative energy. And we're looking
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, you're lucky because you're out there in Utah. So, I mean, if you want to go get away from all of the, hustle and bustle, you can go out. There's so many mystical areas out there and then the Four Corners and just it's pretty incredible out there.
Then there's Vegas.
Ah,
You know,
that's a whole other story. Yeah, you have to take a vacation when you get back from that. Just to,
that is so true.
nice. So okay, so we're looking at this image right now, and you were talking about the breakdown of it, and you were saying that a lot of these images or a lot of the petroglyphs you can see in the clouds, and then we got disconnected.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that, but
No.
I'm seeing the circular something's
The
happening.
waiting.
Yeah,
It's
but
in the wait.
I can explain. I can explain that that bar that goes across on the ancient artwork from Egypt is the chemtrails. And I would love to get with some ancient people, because these guys, these ancient researchers, like the ones in universities and stuff, who are really, really, like, they live and breathe this stuff. Not that we don't, but that they could use the Webster phenomena to evolve their research unbelievably if they would just listen for, past the dragon hand, or past there's ET in the sky. This is the wall that has been built to keep the Webster phenomena out of humanity, out of the consciousness. The wall is pareidolia. The wall is delusional. Just all of this wall. And then here's the end wall is, well, why do you see it? Nobody else sees it. Well, it's not nobody else anymore. See, I did see it, and I think the difference is I said something. I'm just one of those people that I have to say something about the elephant in the room. I just have to. I can't let it go. And people in this society tend to turn their head from the issue times 1,000. You're turning your head from what everybody's looking for. And even in this genre, our show, our podcast, is syndicated on a network, and the other people who are on this network could use the Webster phenomena to their advantage so unbelievably. But everybody's just kind of like, nah, I got this. I see ET. He comes by in a triangle craft with lights on each corner. It's like, well, wouldn't you think that craft is probably government, since you're saying that government is doing all these crazy things? Don't you think they have craft that they haven't told you about? So that's what we call them, the tin can watchers, people that look for tin cans in the sky and look for lights. I've always said ET is not going to need lights, you guys. I'm pretty sure ET knows where he's going, and he's probably got the best nav you could ever find. So ET does not need lights. No reason for it. So anything with lights is coming from a human consciousness area. Like, oh, we got to put lights on this. And then if you're trying to be seen, then you will put lights. I'm not saying ET doesn't have lights on their craft, but why would they? Now, things that ET does have on their craft is just ridiculous. You would never think of it. You would never... And humans are going to have a very hard time, even myself and Brenda, to really understand these craft and how they work and what they're doing. It's amazing how they're they're mechanical, they're etheric, they're coming into 3D through plasma. They're very ghost-like. So what we're doing is we're putting together, we're just taking the whole paranormal and just sloshing it all together. All right, you guys, ETs are ghosts. And that's just that, and we'll throw Bigfoot in there at some point too, I'm sure.
Well, they are spirit because they are etheric. So this all brings it all together, and this is what even though everybody sort of thinks we're on the outer, we're actually the connecting pieces for all things in this genre, because it's where the essence of where it all starts, and it's the origin of where everything starts.
Yeah, we are the connectors. We can connect archaeologists. We can help archaeologists. Oh my gosh, we're just waiting for somebody to step up and go, hey, I've heard about you, and I'm open to what you have to say. Can you please show me what I'm missing? We have the key to the things that they're missing in the translations, the Emerald Tablet. We can go on and on and on, but we're trying to get into a university who's studying the ancient research, and they're going to go ballistic. Their knowledge level is going to, I don't even think that there's a mathematical equation for it. It's just going to be a completely new scenario once we get in there. We've been doing this for 2 years. together and putting it out there to the world hard, and I mean hard. And I built my Twitter up to like 11,000 followers. They're all organic. Everybody who follows the stuff, but still, when I post a picture, I'll get 4, 5, 6 likes. But yet the guy who says that he calls in UFOs and then gets a picture of some blurry a bird going by in the sky, he'll get like 800 likes and it'll go viral. So there is a cap on this. There's a shroud on this, on the Webster phenomena, and we have learned to be okay with it. At first it was, everybody's a moron and all this, and we just really backed up and said, we were morons once too. If we want to call people that, we've stopped any of that. I've stopped calling people names and realized that it's better to be compassionate that people haven't seen this and really need to, because it's so important to their lifetime. I mean, this is extraterrestrial showing itself in their lifetime, plus all the religions who bring prophecy that says that there will be some return, there will be something that happens, there will be an apocalypse, there will be an end of days. This is following suit, almost verbatim. And every single one of them, Hopi, Revelation, says that these beings will show up in the clouds. So here they are. It's a Webster phenomena.
Well, I got to tell you, this has just been, a real pleasure to have both of you on the show. And I would like to let our listeners know as well, if you want to get in contact with Patrick or Brenda, make sure to check out the Facebook page, the Webster Phenomenon. And also, even though your website is down for the moment being remodeled, you're going to have it up again pretty soon, and they can contact you that way as well, correct?
For sure. On Facebook, you're going to see everything. Go to blogtalkradio.com / the Webster Phenomena. You can listen to our podcasts and reach out if you're, if you know somebody who's in the research in a university, who's deep in it, who needs this information, man, hit us up. We are just itching to give this to the right people. So definitely hit us up.
Great. Well, once again, really appreciate it, folks. Make sure to check out our brand new website, leakproject.com. Over 150 cutting-edge, full-length podcasts for free if you want to listen to them there as well, as besides YouTube. And also, I just want to give a shout-out to Before It's News. You guys have been featuring our podcast there. Really appreciate it. A ton of good information on that website from independent reporters, all sorts of different topics and genres. So stay safe, folks, and be the change you want to see. This is Rex Bear. Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this edition of Leak Project. I'm your host, Rex Bear, and we have guests Patrick and Brenda with us tonight. We are going to discuss the Webster Phenomena, and this is just absolutely incredible. This is actually pretty new to me, guys, because what we're going to get into is the possibility of there being an extraterrestrial presence, not only throughout history, throughout nature, time, and space, different levels and archetypes. This is just incredible. So appreciate you both joining us. How the heck are you?
Awesome. Thanks, Rex. I'm doing great. Thanks for having us on Leak Project.
Oh, absolutely. It's just a pleasure to have you both on the show. Brenda, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Rex. And yeah, thank you very much for having us on.
Oh, absolutely. I know that it's pretty early where you're at, so I appreciate you getting up a little bit earlier than you're used to and spending some time with us. I always like to sleep in the mornings too, so this is just great to have you both on. And if you could just describe a little bit to our audience, a little bit about yourselves, then we'll jump into this phenomenon itself.
Sure. Brenda, you want to go first?
You go first.
I see how this interview is going to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, for everybody to get to know me, you'll really have to kind of look at all my stuff and my YouTube and all that. But in general, I am a master craftsman, a woodworker. I'm also an accomplished musician. I know how to do a million things in the world. When you get to be about 52 years old, you have a lot under your belt. So that's pretty much me. and I started researching this, the Webster Phenomena, and created it about 2 years ago. And then Brenda joined me you joined me about 2 years ago, didn't you, Brenda?
Yeah, it was in July, 2014, yeah.
Okay, and have you seen similar anomalies out there in Australia as well?
Yeah, I have. That's actually, I discovered Patrick through a web page. Someone posted something and I found him there. But my background is I'm a psychic medium, basically, and I just it started out very strangely enough, just through synchronicities for me, and then everything led me up to stumbling or in synchronicity finding this page and stumbling on Patrick. And I found that what he was saying and what he was presenting was exactly what I was led to and researching at the time, and so that's how we came to meet. So it was all very interesting at the time.
Okay.
And it's interesting every day, actually.
Oh yeah.
What we find.
Absolutely. Now, I know that in Utah, especially southern Utah, there's so many areas out there that are what one might call mystical or sacred, not only to the natives, but just some incredible energy out there. And I haven't had a chance to go to Australia, but I know that the Aborigines and many of the native cultures, just there's so much amazing opportunities in both locations. So, Patrick, let's jump into this. And how old were you when you first started seeing these types of anomalies? And describe to our audience better, if you would please, what the Webster Phenomena is, because this is your, pretty much genre, isn't it? You've really kind of
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. This is brand new. Lots of people are talking about clouds now. But it all started with the clouds. Now, I've been involved in mystical and world mysteries and all that stuff for my entire life. I think my first instance was just loving the Bigfoot mystery. And I think that's where a lot of people started. And, of course, Roswell. So between those two things, I was really caught up in really, just having that Jones to want to know the truth. So, what the Webster Phenomena, I'll jump to this, what the Webster Phenomena is, and then kind of backtrack on how I found it. The Webster Phenomena is the realization of extraterrestrials in the atmosphere of Earth throughout all of nature, and that includes the entire universe. Now, these extraterrestrials have a certain look to them, which I'm sure we'll get into here in a little bit. They have a form, and when we started to put when Brenda came together with me, this thing really took off. Now, the way this started was about 2 years ago, and everybody's up in arms about chemtrails, and if you don't know what chemtrails are, man, go outside at any given part of the day and look for the straight lines, and those are not contrails, those are chemtrails. Now, I'm not saying they're chemical based. I'm just saying that that's what they're called, is chemtrails. They're different than the...
Oh, they're legit, man. We actually had a show on yesterday where we had some actual analytical data where somebody took his rainwater and you could see the exact report, the number, the date, everything, and they found barium, aluminum, strontium, all sorts of nasty stuff in there.
Right, and that stuff you'll find anyway in the air because of all of the airplane exhaust and whatnot. You're going to find a lot of that in the air no matter what because of all the exhaust that humans tend to let out of their, backside. So, but I do agree that there are these items are being sprayed in the sky. Now, why that's happening, I'm completely against everybody that's coming out saying that that they're trying to kill us and they're trying to depopulate Earth and they're trying to do this and that, whoever they are. That I believe that's completely bogus, that's not happening. That there's a whole nother reason for these trails, and it's way above humans. See, humans tend to think that everything that happens on Earth is about them. And I'm disagreeing on this one, that whoever's doing this, whoever they is on this one, is not doing this to hurt humanity. In fact, I believe they're probably trying to save humanity. Such a huge effort would merit such things as to save humanity, not to, hey, let's do this. Let's just kill everybody blatantly in their face. Oh, yeah, let's do that. I'm sorry, I just don't buy that. There's a lot of hype. So anyway, back to the chemtrails. About 3 years ago, I decided that I was one of those people that didn't like chemtrails. So because it was screwing up my Southern California sky where I lived at that time. And, from making the whole sky cloudy to just having skid marks across the sky all day. And so I started looking into these chemtrails, and I didn't do tests on them because, you can't actually test the chemtrail. You're just testing air where everything else is. So I started to look into these chemtrails, take pictures, close up, far away, filtered, what have you. And finally, I realized I knew I was seeing something in the sky, that I was seeing something behind a mask. And it was just a mask of mist. And sure enough, after enough pictures and enough collaboration between my colleagues, that sure enough we were seeing beings which are not human. And come to find out that with further research, we found that these beings match ancient gods. So many of the all the ancient stuff from Egypt, pre-Egypt, Sumerian, we've matched up in the sky, all kinds of that stuff, all kinds of these beings, and we sure haven't done anything like mirrored the image, added anything, subtracted anything. The only thing I do to these images is mess with the brightness just a little bit, the brightness and the saturation of the color. So I'm just playing with the light, so to speak. So basically, Rex, that's... Did I leave anything out, Bren?
No, not that I can.
We do by the way, we do a podcast every week, and we've taken the last couple weeks off. So I think we're a little rusty, Brenda.
Yeah.
What is your podcast? If somebody wanted to have access to that.
You can go to the websterphenomena.com. Right now, we are doing maintenance on that page, so you can't get there. So what you'll want to do is go to Blog Talk Radio /the Webster Phenomena, blogtalkradio.com/the Webster Phenomena, and you can find our archives of about 50-some shows. And inside of those shows, we explain everything that we can possibly get into the English language about these beings. And we have our listener base has grown immensely over the last year.
Well, I'm thinking of an experience a friend of mine had that took salvia divorium. I think it's what it's called. You can actually buy the stuff, but it's just extremely intense. And he said when he did it for a spiritual journey, and he thought he was going to go out of body, but he actually went more internal, and he felt like he was, as he described it, alien food, because he felt like he was a part of one giant archetype, and then he noticed a whole bunch of other people that were all connected to it, and he was only able to move when he was allowed to.